Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are both about love and romance. We deal with 1 Peter chapter 3 and we start a new book, the Song of Solomon. This is a very romantic book. In fact, some people have wondered why it's in the Bible. In fact, if it was made into a movie, I think it would be an X-rated movie because it's very graphic of how a man and a woman are falling in love. But some have asked, why is it there? What did God intend with it? Well, clearly, he's giving marriage advice at a very practical level to a young bride and a young groom. Very helpful in that way. And we've taught it very literally before as we've gone through the Bible. But it's also a metaphor. It's a picture of God and the church. It's a picture of God and his people and the degree of intimacy that he is longing for. So it's riddled with questions. It's composed like a scrapbook, really, of a bunch of love letters and notes that are scribbled between a lover and his bride. And it's not really sequential. You can't follow it in a sequence. It's more like just a hodgepodge of love letters together. Now, my theory on who this woman is traced to 1 Kings 1. Remember, King David was really sick and old and cold. And so they searched the entire land looking for a young woman to come and tend to him and actually snuggle up to him in bed at night. It makes very clear, not his wife, no sexual relations. She was like a hot water bottle, really. And they found this beautiful woman called Abishag, a Shulamite, dark in complexion, extremely lovely from a poor background, and she lived in the palace. And then there's this curious little story that Solomon's brother Adonijah asked Bathsheba, Solomon's mom, please ask the king if I can have this woman. Solomon was so incensed, so enraged, he killed his brother on that account. Now, I think that's a little bit of an overreaction, don't you think? I mean, Solomon must have had some deep feelings for this young girl, and she ticks the boxes. Shulamite, poor, lovely. It's just my theory. We don't really know who she is, but let's pick up some of the story here. She says, let him kiss me. Let him take me away. She's got some friends who say, look, we rejoice that you found this guy. And then she says, look, don't stare at me. Don't look at my dark complexion. My brothers made me work out in the field, and I've been burnt by the sun. The friends say, no, you're really beautiful. And then he says, it's the first little phrase he puts in there, that the lover, he says, oh, you're more beautiful than the horses that I've got from Pharaoh. She then speaks to him and invites him again. And then he brings up this phrase that you'll see over and over again. Your eyes are like doves. You see a dove, we've got them cooing in our garden here. A dove is not like a pigeon that, is loud. A dove is gentle, and dove's eyes have eyes only for its one partner for its whole life, so I'm told. I mean, I'm not a great bird specialist, but they don't, mate indiscriminately. And so that theme is brought up over and over again. Now, that's the beginning of this very erotic book, and we'll pick it up in more detail tomorrow. 1 Peter also talks about husbands and wives, and really speaks to the woman who is married to an unbelieving man and says, behave like Jesus, be like Jesus, and your purity and reverence will win him over. Don't think it's the braids and the fancy clothes that are going to win him over. No. True beauty is inward. That's what this whole chapter is about. And he basically, Peter is saying to the ladies who married, objectionable men, God wants to save them too. And be considerate, then he says. And then he turns his attention to husbands. And he says, now be gentle with your wives, be considerate, so that nothing hinders your prayers. That's fascinating. God looks at marriage, looks at the way a husband treats his wife, and says that's going to dictate whether I answer his prayers or not. For those who think women are getting a tough deal in this particular chapter, God backs you, he underwrites you, and he looks after you. And then he turns to all believers and he says we need to all submit ourselves to the Lord. And then he turns on all believers and he says, now listen, to the unbelievers around you, you need to be prepared to give an answer when they challenge your faith, and do so with gentleness and respect, because Christ has suffered for all of us and for them, and we want to see them come into the kingdom.